Oh boy. So I actually had a pretty severe debate with myself as to whether to make this video or not, because Trophy Eye's new album comes out on Friday and they've just dropped this new single for some reason 3 days before the album comes out, which I think is a bit of a weird way to market your album. But I chose to listen to it because I was a fan of You Can Count on Me. More Like You had pretty good verses, but the chorus was a bit strange. But this new Friday Forever song is the most offensive, inoffensive track I've ever heard from a band that I've respected so much. And I have a lot of issues with it, and I have a lot to unpack with it, so bear with me if you actually want to hear me out. If you don't, just click off this video. But yeah, this will be a bit of a negative video. I think my biggest problem with this track is how safe it is. You know, my biggest draw to Trophy Eyes came from Mend Move On, when John would bare himself completely thin to his audience of messed up kids, you know, giving us songs like In Return, where he talks about how he's disappointed his mother, and you know, how sickness could never take her ability to walk, you know, she'd never end up in a wheelchair or anything like that, you know, just that open, brutal honesty from some messed up kid singing to messed up kids felt so raw and so important to me. And when I heard, I think it was Chlorine, the first single off Chemical Miracle, I knew we were in for something special from that. You know, I didn't get the same sort of dread that I got from listening to You Can Count on Me, because the lyrical content of Chlorine was so raw and so honest and so personal, but I could also relate to it in a way. It tells the story of a kid that John knew when he was younger that saved his life from drowning, and later on, this kid that he barely knew who saved his life ended up taking his. And it's a reflection on how strange life works, you know? You saved my life, but you ended up taking yours. You know, that song meant so much and still means so much to me. And as more singles rolled out from that album, I think Heaven Sent came after that, and again I was, you know, entranced by it, to put it lightly. I think the raw honesty again from that song, where John admits to being this corrupt, you know, evil person in his head that messes up relationships, you know, I warned you, you should have stayed away from me, you know what kind of man I can be now. That sort of, you know, revealing your soul like that to an audience of people willing to accept you, even if you admit to being that sort of manipulative person, I think was very respectable. And even though Breathe You In was a bit on the safe, accessible side, it was still a good track. As soon as the album dropped, I was, again, just baffled by how this man could choose to be this honest with an audience, you know? I don't know if I could ever be that open or honest with anyone about the things I go through, but songs like Chemical and Miracle, songs like Home Is and Daydreamer, you know, they mean so much to me because of the lyrical content especially, but also the passion that John puts into his performance. I think Miracle especially, and I'll come back to that later, because I really want to touch on that song and express how much it pisses me off that Friday Forever does what it does. I think Miracle was a perfect example of how impressive John Floriani's songwriting ability can be. And we've already seen examples of that in his solo project Little Brother, where he divulges a tale sort of his relationship with a girl and how it went wrong. And instead of it being fluffy, flowery metaphors, it's more just musings on life, you know? I remember a lyric that always sticks with me from Moving Day is, I'm tired of watching your eyes glaze over when I try to explain myself, you know? I'm tired of watching you and, you know, probably others get glazed looks in your eyes because you can't, you know, accept the fact that I'm just trying to make things right. And that brings me to Friday Forever, and oh my god, I remember very distinctly hearing this song for the first time maybe 3 or 4 hours ago, and I remember being so viscerally angry with it, and I don't think I've ever felt that way listening to a song before. And I know it sounds a bit stupid, but I don't like it at all. I think it's a very, very poor effort from a band known for having such lofty expectations placed on them. Oh my god. I think my first sign of worry was the hackneyed attempt at ripping off 30 Seconds to Mars instrumentation. I'm listening to it, and my first thought is, didn't I hear this on the 30 Seconds to Mars latest LP, and didn't I really, really not like it? And then John's singing voice comes in. Yeah, singing voice. And I'm thinking to myself, he's improved, but where's the passion and the emotion? And then we get dealt the lyrics, and holy shit, man. I don't think it's safe to say that it's the fans that have a problem with your new music. Like, making up bullshit flowery metaphors about clouds not being alone. Oh, it sounds like something from a kid's book, man. You know, it pisses me off that we can go from Chemical Miracle, where he's saying that he doesn't want to kill himself and bleed out in a bathtub because blood fucking scares him, to, you know, not wanting to be a cloud because clouds are alone up there even though they're surrounded by other clouds. Like, doesn't that baffle you as well? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just wanting too much. But that brings me to my other point. I really don't agree with their marketing campaign for this album, you know? I'm all for progression and evolution in music. I'm all for bands pushing themselves to another sound because that's what they think they need to do, and it can be done. Title Fight did it, Turnover did it, The 100th did it. But what I don't like is if a band changes up their sound a bit and then criticizes fans for not liking that sound. You're taking the piss a bit there. If you say to me, you're not a real Trophy Eyes fan if you don't like the new stuff off American Dream, I'm probably going to kick you in the dick, because I think it's ridiculous that I'm not considered a true fan because I don't accept their evolution as artists. I think it should be perfectly acceptable to want artists to stay in at least a little bit of a niche that they know, you know? Like Turnover, when they evolved their sound from generic pop punk to really, really interesting dream pop, at least they kept the really interesting songwriting that they had on their pop punk project. You know, like when they progressed into this shoegazy era, at least the songs were still interesting, as well as being different. This new Trophy Eyes album isn't interesting. I don't think to myself, man, I can't wait to hear another generic pop-punk ballad from Trophy Eyes. That's ridiculous. You know, I've never gone to their music and gone, I'm ready to listen to some safe music. That's what I go to Seaway for, you know? Like, Trophy Eyes are there for me because they push and they push and they push at really impactful things, you know? I listened to Chemical Miracle on repeat since it came out because I felt like I finally found something that could voice the thoughts in my head. John's dealings with his own mental health, John's dealings with his friend's mental health, and John's dealings with his family's mental health really made me feel like I'd found a home in music. And I really don't feel that on this latest LP from them. I should have waited until the new album came out to review it, but I've just been thinking about this all day and I really couldn't leave it. I know this video will go a bit long, but there's just been so much rattling around up here that I couldn't leave it. So I'm not happy that I'm being criticized by the band themselves for not liking the direction their sound's going in. You don't have to disband, you don't have to disavow your earlier music from like Everything Goes Away and Men Move On because you think it's not your image anymore. You don't have to criticize fans because they don't want you to change, and you don't have to criticize us because we think you've become sellouts, you know? You can make songs all you want about how, oh man, there's lyrics in You Can Count on Me which perfectly explain what I'm trying to say to you right now, because they basically admit to, laughing at us for not wanting them to change. What do you think I owe you? Haven't I given you enough? As in, I've given you enough music, can't I change? No, you can change all you want, but at least accept that fans aren't gonna like it, and at least accept that your change may not be for the better. Oh my god. At the end of Miracle, all the instrumentation becomes this massive cacophony of sound, and John screams into the abyss, "Who the fuck's gonna miss me?" I am, and I already do. I already miss you, John, because you're not you anymore. You've sold out, and you're not Trophy Eyes anymore. You should have changed your name. My social links will be in the description. If you've stuck around this long, thank you for listening to me rant. Yeah, check out the new Trophy Eyes album. If you're still a fan of generic pop punk that means absolutely nothing and you'll forget after maybe an hour. Not happy.